A man was complaining, I wonder what will happen to the next generation. Our mothers kept on praying for us and we turned out like this. This generation of slave women, they don't pray. We don't know what the next generation will look like. If we were sustained by prayers and we are still like this, how about this generation that do not know the part of prayer? Many of us are product of high places. So I remember how bad this young man was. I mean, doing evil with a lot of passion. Even at the point it was prophesied that I was not going to finish secondary school. So they have seen how bad I was. So they already projected that the way this guy is going, is either he joins court or he will be killed in armed robbery. You can now paint a mental picture of how bad I was. Many negative prophecies were upon this life. But anytime I pass through the parlor, I will hear my mom calling my name. Victor, you will not waste. I mean, for one night, I didn't miss her prayer. Till today, as old as she is, she will still do 60 days. A few weeks ago, she called me and said, I still have ulcer. I said, don't fast again. We have become what you have been praying to God for now. Truthfully, against my will, somebody spoke from a high place. We are product of high places. If you are a married man, God should give you a word for your wife. God should give you a word for your children. So in view of those promises, you should have a stone. I'm not talking about literal stone. The stone could be formed in your heart. This is how to build an altar. Every time God gives you a promise, if you are a wise spiritual man, the next thing you need to do is to develop a high place. There should be an altar or a high place for your family based on the promises or the covenant that God has cut with you. Because every man that advances with God must understand the technology of high places. A high place is a place of altars and a place of sacrifices. In your business, you should have a high place. People that do business in deep waters do business in high places. Even the politicians. A few days ago, a politician called me from Abuja and asked that I come and establish an altar in his house. He's about to advance politically. Whether they are trying to advance demonically or they are trying to advance divinely, they know that they advance by high places. Say high places. Don't complain that your husband is a bad guy. He's a drunk. He's a cigar addict. Take a stone. Tell your neighbor, take a stone. That's not the kind of marriage God promised you. You knew when you were about to get married that that's not the kind. Take a stone. Take a stone. If God has told you you will be great, don't rejoice. Take a stone. Don't be crying your family is under bondage and the Lord has promised us rest. Take a stone. Tell the stone, this one, his name is Jason. This one, his name is Victor. Every member of your family, you have a stone. And then you call the name of the altar according to your family name. That's the token of the promise. We are product of high places. I know what I'm telling you. Satan will make you to be disaligned. You will not remember what God has told you about your son, what God has told you about your daughter. So it's possible for you to say, Kai, this young man is useless. This young man cannot amount to anything. Forget about the experiences that you are having and seeing now. These things are a lie. Remember the promises that God has spoken to you and stay there. Doesn't matter what Satan is trying to do. The Bible said in the book of Jeremiah chapter 29 and verse 11 that his plans and thoughts for us are for good and not of evil, to give us a future and a hope. He created me. Satan will not come and decide my destiny. This year, if you want to go far into the experience that God has promised you, ensure that you have a potent high place, a potent altar. Every one of us that must advance. Forget about coming to pastor every day. Build an altar for yourself. If you are a man here and you don't have an altar, you don't have any claim to complain about your wife. If you are a wife here and you don't have an altar, you don't have any claim to complain about your husband. If you are a mother here and you don't have an altar, you don't have any reason to complain about your children. It is in the great high place that you contend for the destiny of that child. You contend for the destiny of that man. If you must enter into the experience God has promised you, you must understand the system of high places. There are places we must journey into these places. Journey into these places. And I'm dedicated that as long as you are serious, I, with the hand of my God, will take you serious. I will push with you until we enter these places. I make mention of you in my prayers, calling you that I know by names. But there are certain labors that I will not labor for you. There are certain labors that by yourself. For example, in the secret place, you need to be the one that will make appearance. In the register of heaven, I cannot answer for you. I can't help you mark attendance. It was the psalmist that said in the book of Psalms chapter 141 verse 2, he says, let my prayers be set forth. My prayers, say my prayers. There is a prayer with your name on it. Even in the rumbling of prayers, you must ensure that you appear. Let my prayers be set forth before thee as incense. But Satan knows he will do everything to ensure that you are dry. You can't feel God again. If you are married, remember the covenants that God made to you when you are about to marry that man, that woman. You need to build an altar around it. Remember the covenant God made to you when you gave birth to your first child. As a student, remember when you got the admission and you sought the Lord in prayer. Remember the promises. Remember all the things the Lord has said concerning you. And in view of those promises, can you set up a stone? Set up a stone.